Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube page. I am Justin Horniker, coming to you live at the conclusion of the Women's Champions League group stage. Now we know what teams are going forward, and quite honestly, the most exciting day of the group stage, if you ask me, all coming down to the final match where you have Juventus versus Servette, where Juventus, with a big enough win, can guarantee themselves a shot into the knockout stages, and Wolfsburg and Chelsea, one of them's going to go through, and one of them is most likely not. So, what happened? Well, let's talk about the Juventus game first, because that kind of really solidified what the stakes were of the Wolfsburg-Chelsea game. Juventus came out against Servette looking good, looking solid, and I think that was really the theme of the last few days. The juggernaut teams taking care of business. Juve up 4-0 on Servette. Most of that coming with a 12th minute goal, a 20-minute goal. That was a penalty. Then Servette making some changes after Juve was dominating up 2-1. They had another penalty chance in the 64th minute and scored. And then finally, another goal to put them up 4-0 over Servette. Servette not scoring a single goal in the entire group stage is a rough look. But for the Swiss side, to make it this far, to qualify for the group stage, and to put up a fight, you can't really ask more than that. So, we know that Juve went through. What happened in Chelsea v. Wolfsburg? Well, what a game this ended up being. So in the final match of the day, Chelsea versus Wolfsburg, at the same time that the men's team Chelsea played Everton. What a disastrous day for Chelsea FC. Chelsea with everything to lose here. They came into the day in first place in Group A. Ended the day, well, we'll talk about it. You had Svena Hirth scoring 2 goals in the opening 25 minutes, putting Wolfsburg up 2-0. And both of these goals were pretty solid on the counterattack. Hirth was able to just, slide it in against the grain of play. Not really against the grain of play, because Chelsea weren't necessarily dominating, but it was a quick strike coming from Chelsea possession, and they just carved Chelsea's defense up all day, really. Chelsea's back line looked not up for this game. Neither did their attacking force, really. Wolfsburg had to come up with some key stops, though, and they were just never really challenged defensively that much. Wolfsburg were able to create and were able to finish. Tabea Wolfsmith was able to get the 3rd goal and the 4th goal pretty easily, honestly. And what just kept up happening is Chelsea looked desperate, and Wolfsburg were there just feeding on that desperation. Chelsea had to make a change in the 40th minute, just before half, when they just looked so out of it. They had no urgency whatsoever for a team that was down 2 and had given up not only their lead in the group, but had given up their guaranteed spot in the knockout stage. And they were never able to find that gear. I think if you look at this game, you look at maybe the last, for me, after that 3rd goal, Chelsea had some momentum. They ended up getting a card in the 65th minute. They made 3 changes in the 74th minute. And I felt like when you watch this game, they were gathering momentum. But then Wolfsmith put that 4th goal in. Then it was all over. Chelsea were score effects, right? Chelsea had a lot of possession in Wolfsburg's final third, but weren't able to do much with it. Sam Kerr was relatively non-existent this game. A lot of crosses. She was just not getting good service at all. So, final score, Wolfsburg 4, Chelsea 0. Chelsea have officially been knocked out of the group stage. Made it to the championship game last year. Now aren't even going to make the knockouts. So let's look at who the final 8 teams will be. Of course, we don't know the draw yet, but we can at least speculate on what teams we expect to go further. So like I said, the past 2 days were all about the juggernaut teams taking care of business. Take a look at these score lines from these past 2 days. Bayern 4-0 over Benfica. Olympique Lyonnais 4-0 over Haken. Barcelona 5-0 over HB Kaj. Hoffenheim 4-1 over Arsenal. We talked about that on yesterday's video. That was maybe the one game that went against the grain, as Arsenal does end up making the group stage and had their position all but locked up. We're missing Tobin Heath and some other players from that game. So that is maybe the one outlier of everything else that happened, because today you had PSG winning 6-0, you had Real Madrid winning 3-0, Juventus, like we said, winning 4-0, and Wolfsburg winning 4-0 as well. Huge crooked numbers, huge crooked storylines, but what you're left with is Wolfsburg and Juventus are through, Madrid and PSG are through, Arsenal, Barcelona are through, Olympique Lyon and Bayern Munich are through. Those are blue chip women's clubs. Juventus looking real good this year as well. And an Italian club getting in there compared to German and French dominance of the Women's Champions League is going to be real fun. Not having Chelsea in there, not having Sam Kerr in the knockout stage is very upsetting, but I think there's some really juicy matchups here. I'm interested to see what the draw gives us, but all of these teams were very dominant throughout the group stage. So it's going to be great to see them, go head to head in the final 8, in the quarterfinal, and we'll see where we go from here. Thank you so much for watching. Who's your pick? Who's going to make the final 4? And who's going to win this whole thing? For my money, and PSG has looked so good. PSG, Barcelona, I mean, it's tough. There are a lot of teams that are high flying, and what happens with Arsenal when they get rolling again, they get Tobin Heath back, and it's tough to pick. So let me know in the comments what you think. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video. Subscribe if you want more Woso content. NWSL expansion draft is tonight as I record this, so check back on this page. We're going to be talking everything that happened in the expansion draft, who was protected, who lost key players, and then, of course, heading into the draft in the NWSL this weekend. It's a big week for Woso. It's a great week to launch the channel, and we'll talk soon.